Hello and welcome to this special Facebook Live from ITV Wales this week. Tonight calls for tighter regulation of anti-wrinkle injections. There's a stark warning that if they're not carried out correctly, they can cause blindness and disfigurement. Currently, anyone can perform injections like Botox or lip fillers with no need for training or qualifications. If you live in Wales, you may have just watched a Wales This Week investigation into those concerns. In a moment, we'll be hearing from two people who know all about cosmetic injections and what can sometimes go wrong as well. And we also want to hear from you on this using the comments function below the screen on Facebook at ITV Wales. Do get in touch with us with your comments and your questions. But first, let's start with some of the key points from our earlier programme. In the UK, non-surgical cosmetic treatments are worth nearly £3 billion. The most popular procedures are injections into the face. Botulinum toxin, or Botox, relaxes the muscles to reduce wrinkles. Dermal fillers plump up and fill out the face. Legally, anyone, anywhere can perform those procedures. You don't need to be licensed. You don't even need any training or qualifications. And there's been a marked rise in the number of consumers coming forward with horror stories about botched beauty treatments.
Hi Annie.
Hi Camille, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good to see you.
Camille is visiting qualified practitioner Annie Cartwright in Cardiff looking for help.
Thanks,
She had her lips filled by another practitioner with unexpected consequences. The procedure gave her the fuller lips she'd always wanted, but months later, her face looked like this.
Okay, so as I have a feel of this, you've clearly got quite a firm and marked lump on your left side, and the fullness extends well beyond the lip border itself, and is starting to come up towards your nose, really quite a considerable distance.
After her assessment, Camille told me how the original treatment had left her feeling.
It's not something you can hide. I can't cover it up with makeup. It's a natural disfigurement. It's a lump. And over time, it's got worse and worse and worse.
These 5 dots are where you would inject some botulinum toxin, very small amounts.
I wanted to know more about the risks involved with anti-aging injectables.
Unfortunately, these blood vessels do feed back into the eye. If you were to block that blood vessel with filler, that can unfortunately lead to blindness.
Permanent blindness?
It can do, and that's probably the most serious side effect of dermal fillers.
In 2013, the UK government commissioned a review into cosmetic procedures. The result, this 67-page document, which pulls no punches. It described dermal fillers as a crisis waiting to happen. It said although they can cause lasting damage, they were covered by the same regulation as ballpoint pens and toothbrushes. This year in Wales, new regulations were brought in for procedures like tattooing and body piercing. Dermal fillers were left out of that bill, despite many health organisations arguing for their inclusion.
It's not like buying and selling a mobile phone that if it breaks or goes wrong, you can take it back. Once you've had your injection, then that's it, and you are saddled with the consequences. And I'm not sure that people are fully aware of the potential problems.
The Welsh Government told us they wanted to let councils embed the new licensing scheme for procedures like tattooing before introducing any new ones. But they admit they are concerned about the risks of dermal fillers and they may introduce regulation in the future. But for Camille, the damage is already done.
Please don't go on prices. Don't go on just somebody you've come across on social media. Make sure they know exactly what they're doing at all times, because feeling that you can't be helped is not a nice feeling at all, and no one should have to go through that.
Well, Camille there talking about her experiences. Well, to talk about some of the issues involved in more detail, I'm joined in the studio by Carla Howells, who's had Botox and lip fillers herself, and Ashton Collins from the campaign group Save Face, which is building up a register of approved cosmetic practitioners. Thank you very much both for coming in and talking a bit more around this issue this evening. Carla, first of all, if I can come to you, you appeared in our programme this evening and you've had Botox and lip fillers, as we've just said. Mm-hmm. What's your experience of having them?
I've always had a very good experience, if I'm honest. I mean, when I wanted to have them originally, I did my full research into it completely. I made sure that I was going to a practitioner who had amazing training. She fully licensed, she had all of her qualifications, and I was prescribed as well. So I made sure that I went to a reputable place and I was getting exactly what I should be getting, really.
So you're a very good example of things that can go right.
Yes.
But as we saw earlier on in the report and in the programme, Ashton, that's not always the case, is it?
No, Carla's very lucky that she's fell into a safe pair of hands, but actually there are so many people out there that fall into the wrong hands. I mean, we get contacted by about 5 to 10 people every week who've had bad experiences with lip fillers and different Botox injections and things like that. And, you know, there are unscrupulous practitioners out there who are, you know, set themselves up with no training or no insurance, and they just set about injecting people.
And let's be clear, you're not anti these kind of procedures, you're anti people being able to do them without regulations and without qualifications.
Absolutely, these procedures are fantastic in safe hands, but actually they are medical procedures which carry serious risks and side effects if something goes wrong, and people should be made fully aware of what those risks are, and they should be confident that their practitioner is competent to manage those risks. And
we've had some comments coming through on Facebook. Timothy Chapman has said, a natural looking lady with no plastic injected into them looks so much better. Why do people want to look fake? Well, it's not necessarily plastic we're injecting in, but I think the sentiment he's saying is that perhaps he prefers somebody looking more natural, people should look more natural. Why do you have those kind of procedures done? What would you say to somebody who said that to you?
I have it to just enhance what you've already got. So I had insecurities beforehand of a really thin upper lip, and that was something I was always very conscious of for years. So when I started seeing, you know, I was able to change that, well, I looked into it and I made sure I did my research to get the best person possible to do it, and it massively improved my confidence, it massively helped myself, and if it can do that for other women and men, because men have it as well, then that's, you know, that's an amazing thing to do.
And that's a really interesting point, actually, to bring men into this as well, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Emma Davis also commenting on Facebook says it's frustrating and distressing that people are taking risks with their faces and their health, because these treatments done well and safely by regulated professionals contribute positively to self-esteem and confidence, something that both of you would agree with, I'm sure. And that's exactly what you would echo, isn't it? And we heard that the review that we've got in front of us here said that it's a crisis waiting to happen.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, nobody goes into these sort of procedures wanting to look fake or plastic. You know, people want to look like natural, younger versions of themselves. And so in the right hands, they deliver excellent results.
OK, well, we're just going to take a look at another film now, which some people might have seen in the programme that shared earlier on this evening. One of the people who shared their stories with us on Wales this week was the reality TV star Letitia Grace, who you may have seen in programmes like The Valleys and Big Brother. Let's remind ourselves what she had to say about a treatment that she had in America.
I was 20 years old. I went out to Miami, and before I went, I thought I had an all right figure. I thought I had a nice big bum, and I remember being on the beach one day and just seeing like all these girls walking past with these crazy bodies and these massive bums, and I was like, whoa, like what's going on? How have all these girls got these figures? And my friend was like, girl, you need this girl's number. She does butt injections. I was like, butt injections? So I took the number, obviously. So I was just stupid, I was just naive. I called the woman, she couldn't speak English, so I had to Google Translate and text her, come over to my apartment, come and give me some butt injections. And she comes over, and she's meant to be a doctor. She looked nothing like a doctor. She just had like loads of kitchen roll, and I was like, why the kitchen roll? And she was like, that's for when you're like leaking. I was like, okay. And the needle, it was like a pen. It wasn't like an ordinary needle. And I remember she had a bottle like this full of like this liquid, and that's what she was injecting in me. And as she was injecting, I could just feel the pressure. I could just feel my bum rising, and it was like as if my skin was being like torn. Like it was like so painful, and she had to do that four times on each side. I still to this day don't even know what is injected inside of me. Probably one of the worst decisions I've ever made in my life.
Well, that was the experiences in America. Now, we should say that in America there are actually quite strict regulations, aren't there, around fillers? But that was a bad experience there that was described. Can you explain here, Ashton, what the rules are exactly around Botox and fillers? Yeah, shockingly, anybody can administer Botox or fillers regardless of their training or their qualifications. Botox is a prescription-only medicine, so by law it has to be prescribed by a licensed prescriber. But as far as the administration goes, anybody can do it. Which is very worrying. Awful, yes. What kind of examples have you found, some of the more extreme ones, working with SafeFace? The worst example I've seen by far is a lady who went to what she believed to be a surgeon for Botox treatments and was injected and went into an immediate anaphylactic shock, was rushed to hospital, was comatised for a week. Her face swelled up to double the size. Luckily, she pulled through from the coma, but has been left with severe nerve damage to the one side of her face. It's absolutely extraordinary, awful, isn't it? When you hear stories like that, Carla, some people may think you would be put off. Are you put off?
I mean, initially, yes, you would be put off, definitely. But as I said before, you just make sure you do your research. You make sure you're going to someone who's fully licensed, who's got all their qualifications, who's got a medical background as well, which I think is massively important because, you know, it's medicines really that is being injected in you. So, yeah, as long as you're doing that research and you're going to someone, you know, reputable, then I think you're safe. And there's a bit of a warning here as well around deals and ads which you might find online for these things which are offering good deals. What would be, either of you, what would be your warning about those? Steer clear. Yeah. You know, if you see something that sounds too good to be true, probably is too good to be true. If something is far cheaper, then corners are being cut, and if corners are being cut, the only person that will pay the price is the patient. So you get what you pay for. Definitely, definitely. You do with anything, and I think, yeah, definitely you get what you pay for. And just to reiterate, if you weren't watching our programme earlier on, we did speak to the Welsh Government about why they didn't add dermal fillers to the recent Public Health Wales Act. And they said they felt it better to let councils embed a new licensing scheme for procedures like piercing and tattooing, which was brought in, and introduce new controls for them. And they did admit, though, that they are concerned about dermal fillers, they said, and they would consider more regulation in the future. Is that a step in the right direction for you then, Ashton? Well, it doesn't go far enough, obviously, but, you know, the fact that they are considering it in the future. But we've seen in other areas that licensing actually does very little to improve the overall landscape of the industry. So, yeah, it would go one step further, but not far enough. OK, well, let's take a look at another film now. And one big concern that many people are simply buying dermal fillers from unregulated suppliers using overseas websites. But of course, that means there's no guarantee on what they contain, and that's exactly what we found out. We bought a licensed and recognisable brand of dermal filler on a Chinese website. It didn't look like the genuine article, so we asked an aesthetic nurse to examine it for us, and here is what we discovered.
The batch numbers on the box should match up with the batch numbers on the products inside. And just at a glance, I can see that the lot number on the box ends in 226 and the lot number on the inside ends in 082. So this box and these products inside the box are not of the same serial number, they're not of the same batch. What we'll do is we'll open it up and have a look and see what's inside. So that peels off and then, so that normally sticks in a genuine pack. You would find that the labels would actually have to be taken off. So that immediately does not look right to me. The typeface is not right. That immediately rings alarm bells for me. So what I've got here is I've got another syringe from a Juvederm product. All of the syringes across the whole range are absolutely consistent. So the same type of syringe. And when I've got these side by side now, there are some real differences here. So actually, the end of the plungers look different. you can feel the quality of this is different. This looks more like a toy. It's got grooves and edges to it, whereas this one is round. The worst case scenario is, well, it could be anything. It could be something permanent, like a silicone, and it could be not sterile. So you could potentially be introducing a serious infection into the body by injecting the product.
Well, just so many risks there. How surprising is that for you, what we found when that was opened up?
Not very, to be honest, because we've seen examples of this before where people are sourcing products online from China and from various places and advertising the legitimate products. People are going with the expectation that they have the legitimate products, and they've got no expectation of what these products should look like, and therefore they're unwittingly having these procedures done.
Do you think there's a factor here, maybe, Carla, that people don't necessarily want to be open about the fact they're having fillers and things like that? Therefore, they might go online to find a way into it, and then this kind of thing could happen?
Definitely, 100%. I think definitely a lot of people want to keep it quieter, so they're going to turn to places like the internet and go on these little Groupon deals and find little backstreet salons that people may not know about, so that they don't have to tell people, and yeah, they won't be advertised about it.
And we mentioned earlier on, didn't we, that we're sitting here today and we're having a chat, and we focus a lot on women in the reports we've seen. Yeah. But men are purchasing these products as well, yeah. And it's not something that should be ignored. In fact, no. you made a point about a startling stat from your website, didn't you?
Yeah, over 70% of our web traffic is male, and men are using our site to research treatments and then go on to find a safe practitioner, and that gives them an outlet to maybe not necessarily tell people that they're doing it, but gives them an avenue to do it safely, so they know what to expect, they know how long the treatment lasts, what side effects they carry, and then if they do decide to go ahead, they can find a safe practitioner in their area. People
might find that really hard to believe. So 70%, 70%
yeah.
of the traffic on your website,
yeah,
looking
men.
for advice about the procedures is men.
Yeah.
Does that surprise you, Carla?
It does and it doesn't. I mean, I know especially by me where I'm from, I'd say an equal amount of men and women have it done that I know. So it doesn't, but...
Are men less forthcoming about it?
Definitely,
okay.
100%. Men definitely keep it a lot quieter. And I'd say they're probably more likely to go somewhere where you wouldn't really know.
Yeah, and I hope you don't mind me revealing your age, but you're 22, and I did ask earlier on whether that was okay. And some people sitting at home might say, you don't need to have any of this done when you're 22. It seems very young, and is there a pressure we referred to earlier with social media and that kind of thing? It just seems like a very young age, some people might think, to start this kind of procedure.
Well, definitely social media is a big influence on it. I mean, as soon as you go on social media, all you see is celebrities, bloggers, icons that have just had all this work done, and they look pristine all the time. So definitely, especially as a woman, you kind of want to live up to that a little bit, don't you? So, yeah. Definitely.
So there is certainly a pressure from society as well.
Yes, there is.
But all the more reason, because so many more people are having these procedures done, for some regulation, from your point of view, Ashton, to be brought in. What advice would you give to people who are thinking about this? Top tips, really, to make sure they do stay safe with these cosmetic injections? Yeah, use an accredited register that you know that register has done all the checks on your behalf. So they've checked the person's credentials. They are who they say they are. They use safe products, sourced from legitimate suppliers. They're insured. Their premises meet the standards, and that's what we do. We do all the checks on behalf of the public. And Save Face does accredit these beauticians and their practices, so look for that logo as well. Absolutely, yeah. Go online and use an accredited register, because you can rest assured that we've done all the checks on your behalf. Well, Carla and Ashton, thanks very much for joining us this evening. I think it's a topic that's going to be discussed a lot more in the months and years to come, I think. Thank you very much for your time, both of you. Thank you. And that's it from us for now. You can keep on leaving your thoughts and your views on this Facebook Live page. Just press the comments button below on your screen, and I'll be back, of course, with your late news for Wales on ITV Cymru Wales at 10:30 this evening. But from all of us here, thank you very much for watching and getting involved, and good night.